but
we're learning together about relationships. There's a book written by Dale Carnegie.
Yes.
I forget the title. It's a long title. How to
make friends and influence people. I've got the book at home, yes. I took that course many years ago.
My husband took it about 6 times.
Best friend worked for them for years, training
For some
people.
reason, this is one of the few non-Jewish books that is widely read in the ultra-Orthodox world. Widespread. Yeshivas in Israel.
Really?
They have it translated to Hebrew and they'll be reading it in the yeshiva. I don't know why, I don't know who, but...
It's all about respecting people.
Oh, very good. So Peretz said if you had to summarize the book in one word, respect.
Yes.
Give people respect. Not necessarily flattery, but respect people. Make them feel important. Make them feel good.
That's right.
There are some people... we have a word in Hebrew that really comes from Yiddish. They don't know lefargen. To fargin, they say in Yiddish.
Yes.
They never know how to say a good word to another person.
Yes.
They come to your house, they have dinner, how's the food? Not bad. Why not bad? Why can't you say, if it's not bad, so what is it? It's good, so why can't you say it was good? Because you're the kind of person that just can never give somebody else a compliment. How was the show? It was okay. If it was okay, say it was okay. It was nice. What? There's some people that just, you'll squeeze them, you'll press them, you'll shove them up against the wall. They cannot say a nice thing to another person. The root of this problem is that they're just not happy with who they are. They're not happy people. They're not nice people to themselves. They have a very hard time showing love, showing compassion, showing respect to anybody else. If you can't respect another person, you can't expect that people are going to respect you back. There are certain personalities that are very good people. They're helpful, they're kind, they'll invite you over, and then they randomly get stuck on something that it makes you wonder if it's all worth it to be their friend in the first place. There are people who, why do you tell me my hair looks nice? Why do you tell me... I'm your friend for 30 years. I still have to give you compliments every time I see you.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So, there are people who demand compliments. And those people who demand compliments, it's very, it's not very fun to be around them. They're people that are they're high maintenance and not in a good way. It's not the kind of maintenance you want to put into a relationship.
Some people require that you always tell them how good they are because they need to know they're loved. It's
a constant reassurance.
Constant reassurance of love. Yeah.
Sorry. Wondering why it wasn't straight. Is that a healthy thing though?
No. It
can be tiring.
It's very tiring with people like that.
Yeah,
a person who always, it's like you need to always stroke their ego, their reassurance. Maybe it's not so malicious. There are people that come from places. I once had one of my students got married, and I think that women in general have this problem. Forgive me for, but his wife had like an extra dose of this, where every time she looked into the mirror, she'd get depressed. She doesn't look good. She's too heavy. Her hair is not nice. It's too stringy. All kinds of stories and it got to the point where he was constantly telling her, "You're beautiful. You're amazing," and she kept saying, "That's not true. Stop talking." And then it came to this, like, am I crazy? Is she crazy? What am I supposed to do here? It's an interesting conversation that came. This book. This girl's father used to, if his wife would come out of the house dressed in a way he didn't like, he would send her back to change clothes. This is the kind of house she came from. He was this control freak who, part of his image was the way his wife looked. It could be this is an old world mentality. I think there's still people who have this problem today. And the girls in the house, also the boys in the house, but the girls got the brunt of it. If they didn't look a certain way, if they didn't fit into a certain size clothing, if they didn't style their hair a certain way, they would constantly be critiqued in the house. What are you, that's how you're going to walk out today? That's how you're going to look today? And it led to a very unhealthy, it totally destroyed their self-esteem. A good-looking person who thinks that she looks like the ugliest person in the world. And I said, listen, why this is your wife. And it's your job. It might take you years to reverse the effects of what her father did.
Send it to a psychologist.
Absolutely, but it's also part of the husband's responsibility. I said, you think she looks good? Why not?
I don't think it's the spouse's responsibility to work on elevating the self-esteem of the other spouse. You can be, you
If
can
not them, then who
encourage.
else?
Well, you can encourage. You can say, "Honey, you look beautiful," and whatnot. But after that, you need a professional.
Thank you. I agree.
Because you know what? No spouse wants to hear their partner crying, "I'm ugly, I'm not pretty, I can't get a job, nobody wants me," whatever the situation is. If it's a small little window of time you're going through that, fine. But if this is the way it is, in the 28 years you're together, nobody wants that. It gets very old. You can't fix your partner. You can be loving, you can be supportive, but that deeper work where the shift and transformation takes place has to be done with a professional, in my opinion.
I agree.
I agree always to work with a professional. I disagree with your initial statement. I respectfully. I don't have to say that I'm right. I'm a fanatic when it comes to relationships, in the sense that everything must be shared and everything is everybody's responsibility. This idea, and it's not your idea, of don't let your spouse hear certain things all the time. Keep certain things to other people that you work them out with. It's gonna get old. It's gonna turn them off. It's gonna make them feel. Yes, but no, because if that's what's gonna ruin the relationship, if that's what's gonna make people feel old, if that's gonna, I question where the foundations of the relationship are. If it's not your responsibility, if it's not solely your responsibility, that's why someone else goes to get help. But two people got married. They're in it for the long haul on everything, and I respectfully disagree. It may not work for everybody, but I very much believe that a spouse, I'm not there to fix them. Fixing them is a problem. A person who wants to, I want to make you better because there's something about you I don't like. That's not called fixing them. That's called manipulating a person. If there's something that this person is struggling with, and you have the capacity to help them, in a spouse capacity, not in their psychologist capacity, not in their therapist capacity, but as their spouse, why not?
Well, I agree with you on that point, if you have the capacity as a spouse. But there are some people who get married or in a relationship and they're like this. If one spouse moves to the left, they're going to the left too. One spouse moves to the right, they're moving to the right too. And then there's another model, if you will, where you have two people together and they are very united in terms of their values, the direction they want to go in, etc., etc. But one spouse may be going a little bit to the left today, and you may be moving forward today in your life. So the question is, should you stop and have to be held back because your wife's going a little bit to the left or vice versa? Or do you have permission to move forward knowing that you have the trust and the faith and the security and the love for her? She's following behind a little bit.
What if you keep moving forward and she keeps moving left? Then what's going to happen?
It depends on the. In my opinion, I think it depends. I think it depends on the category. Do you know what I'm saying? So like if you're a very positive person, and your spouse is moving towards depression, right? You'd want to do everything you can to help your spouse. Right? You'd like to see your spouse get professional help, maybe medication. If it's low self-esteem, you want your spouse to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But should you then be less than your positive self when you put your foot outside the front door because you have a wife that can't get off the couch from depression?
Why does that hold you back in your positive self? Why does being there with her mean that you are taking a step back in your own positive growth?
Well, I don't think it should.
I agree with you.
I don't think it should. I don't think it should. But it sounded like what you were saying is that somehow one spouse should be responsible for lifting up and lifting up and lifting up.
Just like at some point she's going to be responsible for lifting him up.
But you might not be able to lift up someone who's depressed. You might not be able to lift up someone that has serious anxiety. Remember that woman who wrote the article?
Yeah.
You might not be able to lift up someone that has, looks in the mirror and says, I'm ugly, I'm not good enough. You know how many people run an I'm not good enough program? And it doesn't matter what anyone else out there says to them. They operate out of I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not fill in the blank enough. That's how they operate. Can your partner fix that? Your partner, in my opinion, and my experience of people I've worked with, you can say the right things as you should. You need to be a mensch and a menschette and help your partner with loving kindness and everything else. But then there's a point beyond which you can't fix what her mother or father did when she was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
I didn't rule out professional help. I never did. I never do. It's never in my agenda.
I think professional help is the first thing to go to.
I rule out a situation where, in a relationship, two people have their own problems they deal with on their own. I don't appreciate such a mentality. I understand that it might exist in some places, but I believe that relationship to be therefore lacking in a certain unity. Also, the problems we're in together, and if it's one person's problem, it becomes my problem also. It becomes her problem also.
Yeah, but many times the two of you can't work it out, and then the one gets very frustrated that they can't get the other one to do and understand what they're trying to say. They have to have professional help to help them. They cannot do it.
So
They're not
The
capable.
question is, do you want to take on your spouse's problem? I think we take it on to a certain degree because we live with our spouse.
Yes.
And every time we walk into the house, if there's a problem that one spouse is having, there it is. And so, yes, you live with it, you take it on. But how much can you take on, and how much do they take responsibility for? And
Can you tell me there's never been a man who's been in a situation when he was single and his wife is the one who lifted him out of the dumps? Has it never happened before?
Of course it's happened.
So
and we
that-
do
but
that.
why-
We
we
do
do that
that
all
for
the
each
time.
other all the time.
So how is that? Where is that coming
Because
from?
sometimes sometimes
I've seen men who, before they were
but-
married, were nothings. They were nobodies, and they got married, and their wife made a whole new world for them.
Absolutely. But we're talking about emotional issues now. We're talking about if someone is going through something emotional, that the other their spouse is not able to move them off the spot that they're stuck.
Why is a spouse able to be involved in every other one of their emotions except for this one? Love is an emotion. Their sex life is an emotion. Their relationship, the way they're mad at each other, is an emotion. But suddenly the things they're struggling with is an emotion that I can't be involved with?
You know what I think?
This is what I'm asking. I'm asking
Okay, no,
because
I
it is an
understand.
emotional issue. It's exactly why I believe the
Here-
husband or the wife have more influence than anybody else because
This is
they're
a
emotionally
core to
involved
this
in it.
whole marriage thing book we're doing, whatever.
Very good. That's why we're having this conversation.
Okay. I think there are a couple of models when you come to relationship. There are some people, and I think you and Devorah are one of those couples, where you absolutely are like this. And you're coming from that point, and you're teaching from that point. It's beautiful. There are a lot of couples, okay, who are like this. Yes, we're together. We're a unit. We're raising our children. But you know what? You're like this, and I'm like that, and I have to understand that certain times you're going to get a little meshuggah over this, but I don't have that issue. I don't get meshuggah over this. You know, vice versa. We're not always like this connected. More people are united in relationships, marriages, and whatnot, where they each do somewhat of their independent things, they make joint major decisions together, etc., but they're not like that. Everyone wishes they had a soulmate like this.
Wait, so that's that.
Not everybody is like that, correct?
First off, thank you for the compliment. If you ask my wife, she'll tell you there are things that I go meshuggah about that she
Yeah.
doesn't. So your last sentence just ruined everything you said.
Why?
Because you said there are different models of relationship. I agree with you on that. But if there's an ideal, so why should we not preach the ideal so that somebody can strive to reach that point?
You can strive to reach that point.
But I believe that everybody can.
Okay, so what
Okay.
I have found in being a coach, working with women, not men, only with women, for over 40 years, is that not everybody marries their soulmate. They have good men, nice men, kind men, Maybe over the years they go to some therapy, they find some way to work out their differences, etc., etc. And they make a life. 40, 50 years, you go to the anniversary parties and whatnot. Are they married to their soulmate, the person who they think the other guy understands? Are they married to the person who in their hearts is just soulfully da-da-da-da-da-da-da? No. This is, if you talk to women our age, women have 25, 30, 40-year relationships. This is what they will honestly tell
He
you.
was crying until
Even
30
if-
seconds ago. So both of us, I'm glad he decided to come home.
Even if they say, he's my best friend. He is my best friend. But does that mean when I have something deep, I might call her, I might call her to talk instead. It's easier. That's what women report. The people that say, at least in my practices over the years, talking and listening to women, the people that say, he's my soulmate and he is the one that continuously always gives me that nourishment, etc., is so few and far between. And I think if young people are looking for that soulmate, which many of them are, that's why they get married and then get divorced, because they're disappointed.
Well, I think that your definition of soulmate is flawed.
Okay.
Am I allowed to have an argument
No,
with
of
you?
course,
Okay.
please.
I
This
believe
is
your definition of soulmate is some Hollywood romance. But if somebody's married for 40 years, and I don't have 40 years, so this is a... If somebody's been married for 40 years, and they're at each other's anniversaries, and they're still smiling, and they can say, he's my best friend, but what other definition of soulmate do you have than two people who've been together for 40 years through thick and thin?
Oh, absolutely different. Absolutely.
Listen
I've
to
seen
other
it.
women.
I don't believe, though, that... But you can't listen to other... Because that woman who tells you she's married her soulmate, you don't know what goes on when her door is closed and what she lives with at night. And maybe she's the one who's... The guy doesn't get off her neck, so she decided, okay, I'm going to do everything in my life with him because she doesn't have a choice. Your definition of soulmate, I don't know that it's the correct definition of it. I don't know that that's true.
Well, I think it's worth exploring.
Soulmate doesn't have to be perfect. I believe the whole root of marriage are two imperfect people that are trying to make it work. If everything is too easy all the time, something smells fake about it. If my wife and I didn't argue the amount that we did, I would feel that we're in a fake relationship.
Right.
It must be a
The
very
fact
real
that
relationship.
the fact that I don't project it all the time, that's our own issues to fight about it to get things over with. See, my wife has been married to me for 3 years. It's 4 almost. We're going. I don't know where we're going. I don't know how long we're
Where
going.
we are. That's 3, but we
She
know each
still
other.
thinks
before.
that Hasidic Judaism is the future of Judaism. I think she's speaking nonsense. But you know what? 3 years we've been having this fight, and it's not going to go away anytime soon.
But
No, it's
that's
not.
a different.
Until
That
you
hold
realize
on
the
a
truth.
second. But that's different than what we started talking about.
Yes.
We started talking about.
Wait, Paula, maybe you could
Husband?
recap. We're having a
hearing.
fundamental
What is this?
dispute here.
Okay.
Let's go to the origin.
You originally started speaking about somebody whose wife looked in the mirror,
Suffering from high self-esteem issues.
low self-esteem issues.
Low
No
self-esteem.
Low self-esteem issues.
High.
Every
A
time,
high level of
It's-
low self-esteem issues.
every
Okay.
time she looked in the mirror, she didn't look good. She couldn't go out. She's ugly. She's this. She's that. I say, after a while, 3 years of this every day, doesn't that get old for a husband? If every time you woke up in the morning and you looked in the mirror as you're brushing your teeth and you walk back into the bedroom and you say to Yoni, you know, I am the ugliest person. Now look at me. I can't stand how I look. I'm terrible. I'm this. And does he need to hear all that?
And
Every day for
see,
3
I'm
years?
saying that
Yes.
it's the husband has
Well,
a
I think
role.
the husband has a role. I don't know what his opinion is, but mine is if you've made that commitment. It's not just another person, a friend, where every time you call and they're busy complaining about their aches and pains. So those friends at a certain point, you don't want to talk to them. You cut them off after. The weather's beautiful, everything's great. I think when two people made a decision to lead a life together, it meant through thick and thin. It meant the times that I feel beautiful and I'm the life of the party and everybody's crazy over me, and the times that I'm in my bedroom and I feel horrible, I'm fat and ugly and everything else. And I think there's something very unique about that partnership where the spouse does have a responsibility. Meaning, before you were married, you were two
I didn't speak
friends.
to her about this, guys. We're just sitting at this table having this conversation for the first time.
No, we didn't speak about this. But no, I really think a spousal relationship is we're in this together no matter what. Now that no matter what does have a cause, because sometimes unfortunately divorce is necessary, right? But we're talking about in a healthy, normal relationship where my obligation when he's down is to make sure to sit down and say, I'm not his therapist, but I'm his best friend, so what's going on? And if for 3 years he's telling me that something hurts him, I have to be crazy after a month to not have stopped and sat down and said, Yoni, what is going on in your life?
I
So
agree.
a woman who's for 3 years standing in front of a mirror saying, I'm ugly, and you're going to tell me the husband says he can't stand it?
Well, I'm saying
I
I'm
think he's
saying
that
he
fool.
should
Saying
make
it's reserved.
certain he
It's
goes
reserved
to
for
a
going
therapist.
to. My job as a spouse is to make sure they go to a professional.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That's
that,
what she's
that,
saying.
that
That's her-
I'm
But
saying.
my question is, did they necessarily, and I'm all for therapy. Somebody needs to make money in this house.
She better be all for therapy.
I better be all for therapy. But there's certain issues that you don't need therapy for. There's certain issues that a good hug and a smile from somebody and a little boost of
But
confidence will go a long way.
Agree, but not on a constant basis.
No, meaning if there's a fundamental issue here that we're talking about. This
We're
person,
talking about fundamental issues.
Then-
We're talking about fundamental issues.
Okay, but the question is, was it fundamental or was it just festering over years and it became fundamental?
No,
Meaning, had it
but-
been nipped in its bud, it wouldn't have been a 30-year issue.
He's
It would have
talking
been
about a
1-year
woman.
issue.
I'm talking about a
He's-
woman who grew up in a house where the parents were overly involved in physical external looks and really caused for a very unhealthy self-esteem. And I believe the spouse, and if she wants to go for professional help, I told you I'm all for professional help. But I believe that a spouse is a crucial part of this rehabilitation process. Crucial part, not just a person who's there to support.
It's true. Right, no, I think therapy has its place, but
I believe
it's
a spouse is a partner in this person's therapy.
Right.
It might not be, and so Paulette had a critique. She said that we come from a, how did he do it? Like this.
Come
We
from
come-
where I feel like his position is from a marriage as a soulmate, and you guys seem to have that, and we're together and we are one. I'm suggesting that many people who have long and good marriages and happy families don't have so much of that togetherness, oneness. They have, like Hildebrand says, they stand a little separately under the same roof, supportive in their values, in the decisions they make, but they have separateness in a way between them. Do you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
What do you come from a psychological background? What do you think?
I think it's,
Not to put you on the spot at all.
no. In my personal case, Steve and I are total opposites, but we come together when it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a self-esteem issue, I'll just say, ugh, and he'll say, what? And we talk about it. But I don't think Steve is my soulmate. We tell each other everything, but I need to do things very independent of him.
Me too.
So
But
what on
I
earth
agree.
is the definition of
One
a
thing-
soulmate? This is my thing. The definition of a soulmate. We've been together for how many
It
years?
doesn't mean that we walked
Well,
and
we're
not.
married 49. We've been together
Wow.
for about 60.
Wow. Okay,
Wow.
so let's go.
58, something
Wow.
like that.
Okay, let's go with like 50. Okay, we'll just
Okay,
cap
Wow.
we married
Fif-
50.
Right. Wow.
50 years, and you tell each other everything. And when you go, he already knows that something's wrong. What in the world is the definition of soulmate if not for that?
And one second, I want to critique a second. Paulette, I disagree with you that in a relationship, both people get lost because that's unhealthy on either end. If you
What
could
do you mean get lost?
get lost, meaning it's not one. It's two independent people who are making a decision to build a unity here, a house together, a life, a love, with both components. And the way I look at our marriage, but marriage in general, is it's an orchestra. I play piano, he plays violin. If I'm going to take over violin, we're both going to break this orchestra because I don't know how to do it. And I think that's a shift from, no, we're both going to, I'm going to walk together wherever he's going and he's going to...
What do you play
that's
though?
just-
What
I play the
play?
piano.
Piano.
I like playing
See, but
piano.
I don't have to play. I think you're making an assumption that I play violin sitting on her lap,
Right.
and that's not true.
No.
No. But you're right. What Paulette
But
is
that
saying
was
is
kind of what it sounded like. That we're this together
we are together,
unit,
but we
and
sit in
that
two
if
different places in
something
the room.
is wrong with her, let's say she's going through a low self-esteem or she's going through high-level anxiety, like that woman wrote the article,
Right.
that somehow you should be able to elevate her because you are this unit. And I'm suggesting that even in the best of marriages and spousal relationships, sometimes the spouse is unable to elevate the other person.
I
Not
agree.
because they don't love them, not because anything negative in the relationship, but there's something really deep inside of the spouse that requires something other than.
That's when you need a
Yeah,
therapist.
that's
That's when you need
Yes.
a therapist.
Because
That's what we're
I know
talking
there are
about.
certain circumstances when my husband, who's a therapist, and I'll say to me, you know what? Why don't you speak to one of your friends or a therapist or whatever? He said, you're bringing me down,
Yeah.
okay? And
Correct.
so
But you
what I
said
was
something
saying.
very important. You said the first step is having a conversation.
Yeah.
Which I think that's the important component.
Yeah, but
And
if
if you
together
can't-
spouses say, hey, this is an issue that
But this was a
I clearly
conversation.
cannot help you with.
Right.
We've been working
So-
through this. So then let's reach outside. Yes, but that was a joint decision where we tried what makes sense, which is our first line of defense, which is having a conversation. Us. Just
Well,
the two
that's
of us.
given.
Okay,
Having
yeah,
a
so then I think-
conversation, that's a given.
No, but
I
some
agree
people
with
don't.
you.
That's a
Some
given.
people don't. Some people
Right.
just
Yeah,
start
but that's a
yelling
given.
and they-
But
I don't
I'm
know
Or
it's a given.
they go out to their
It's
friends.
not a
and
given. There are
they
some
never
people that
do
never
this
talk
together.
with each
That's
other.
right.
Well, that I can't imagine.
That I can't
You know,
imagine
I
either.
can't imagine.
Why
How do you
can't
met
you
somebody
imagine?
and not
Why
talk to
can't
them?
you imagine?
But I do
Talking
think
to
I
each
do
other.
think
A husband and
that
wife
if
not talking to each
if-
other.
About
That's
stuff,
okay.
about it's sure. You know how many
Yeah.
times I have people that come talk to me?
Oh, there are
You talk to women, no,
plenty.
she doesn't like hearing this stuff.
What?
What?
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
You kidding me?
All the time.
Yeah,
Well,
see, I
then,
find
Avril,
that
to be fair, come on.
that
You've never heard that people say,
Because
you know,
you
I'll
have
talk
a
to my
soulmate.
friend about it because my
I
spouse
believe
doesn't
that you
get
have
it.
a
Of
soulmate.
course, yes.
People do that all the time. I'll speak to my spouse about
I
it.
think there are people.
I don't think I have a soulmate.
And you
So-
know what?
So I'm gonna believe for
I
you.
think I have a good partner for me. I
Yes.
don't think I have a soulmate.
What is the
But I think
definition
it's
of a
semantics
soulmate?
then that we're arguing.
I think you're thinking of a Hollywood soulmate, and I'm thinking
No,
of a Jewish
no,
soulmate.
I'm thinking of
No.
a Jewish soulmate. I'm
Well, for example, I'll be really honest. I mean, I can go to real depths about Judaism and mysticism and the soul and spirituality and all this and that. And I want you to know, I can talk about that to Bill, and he's like, okay, let's go to a movie.
Yeah.
He has no,
I identify when I talk to
Interest.
him about Hasidut about that.
he has
I get the
zero
same reaction.
interest.
yeah.
Honey, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur is coming. That's nice, sweetie. Have a good time. Has zero interest.
Correct.
And yet we have other pieces of the pizza pie where we are like terrific together. Do you know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
But this is the piece that I come here to get my
Oh, okay.
satisfaction.
We all do that in
Do you
different
know what I'm
capacities.
saying?
There are
No,
things that I go to other people for that I don't
Does that
get
make
here.
you not
Yes.
a perfectly compatible match with
No,
Bill? No. Okay,
it
so
means that
that's
on this deeper level, like in my brain, I think a soulmate would be someone on the deepest of levels. Deepest of levels, I could communicate or share some of this stuff.
But you could share with Bill this stuff.
He
can't
did,
you?
I can, but he's watching
Sure.
television,
Right.
he did changing the channel,
What if you said,
you know,
Bill, I
let's
really
go
need-
for a sandwich.
if you s-
He's not interested.
not interested, right.
He doesn't
Even
want to
if you
know.
said, Bill, I really need to talk to you about the TV or the radio.
So-
No,
Listen,
that's
but this is
different.
not a-
That's different.
She's saying there are
I'm
certain
telling you,
topics
I
and issues
can
that they're not
go
mutually
I
shared.
deep. I can
understand what
go
she's saying.
deep.
Right.
In this one area, he doesn't go deep.
I
Now,
understand.
he's the first person to say to me, it's dark, light the candles. He's the first person to say to me, you're going to Yoni's for dinner tonight, goodbye, go.
Well, this is too
He
fun
is-
to
I'm
miss.
telling
Okay,
you.
I'm coming back.
He,
So
you know
let
what
me-
I'm saying?
maybe
So
I have to
don't
start somewhere else.
feel like
Yes.
he is my soulmate. On the other hand, if I'm sick and I don't feel well,
Oh, he's amazing.
you know, he's the person you want right there. You know,
That's right.
So here's the thing. I think that
I agree with
I hope
you.
this is not going to be on your tape.
when I when I began studying with Rabbi David Aaron. Why does Bill watch
saying.
these?
No.
Okay, good. So
What?
you're okay.
What are you talking about? I mean, sometimes I listen to these, I swear to God, brilliant tapes. I'm so inspired. So, and I say to him, honey, you gotta listen to this, you know? 4 minutes later, he has no. What he likes to do is sit quietly for meditation.
That's
He could sit like this an hour and a half, 2 hours, not move his body.
Oh my
That's right.
God.
Absolutely.
I can't sit like that for 2 minutes.
No, you can.
So let me share. I think
And it
that
doesn't matter where
when
he
I
is.
began
It
learning
Doesn't
by
matter
Rabbi
where he
David
is.
Aaron,
She's
Doesn't
seen him
matter
do it.
where he is.
She's seen him do it in Turkey.
I've seen him do
Wherever
it
he
everywhere.
is, he sits down.
That's right.
He sits straight up.
That's right.
Gone.
Absolutely.
Doesn't move.
Rabbi-
Commotion around him. Doesn't move.
Rabbi Aaron always
He's
shares that
wonderful.
before you
I
have
love
a
him.
conversation, you must define your terms. And a lot of times we speak Judaism, so we'll use words like God. And we don't realize we're speaking to a Christian audience, and to them, God means Jesus. And we're not talking about Jesus at all. And so when we speak to a Christian audience, you have to make sure when I say God, this is what I mean. Or when I say the Bible, I don't mean Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's
That's
not what
right.
I'm talking about. Bible for me means, the
These
24
five
books of the Tanakh. This is where I'm up to. The rest of it, I'm defining terms. I believe that I do come from a background where the world is understood a little differently, and that's fair. That's okay. I don't have to be right. Perfection in the world that I come from is considered always going to be fake, because there's nothing in the world that is perfect. There's nothing in the world that is 100%. There's nothing in the world that is wow. That's gold. That's incredible.
I
Rather,
agree.
the definition of perfect in the spiritual circles in which I tread is something very imperfect that you've managed to make the most beautiful thing out of. For example, in America, if you don't have a 4.0 GPA in high school and you didn't get into a great college and you didn't graduate with some high degree, a master's in something, a PhD in something, a bachelor's in whatever, and you're not in some career where you were able to buy a house with a swimming pool and your 2 cars and whatever it is that is the life that you have to live to be considered successful in the United States. The circles that I come from would say, if there's a person who has all of that, but they have terrible, and they have money, they have their cars, they have their house, they have their vacations, and they have self-esteem in the dumps. So by us, we would say this is not a successful. It's not a success. This wasn't the project. The guy who's driving a garbage truck, and he lives in a rented 1-bedroom apartment with his wife, and they eat TV dinners, and they're doing okay with their health, but these guys are loving life all around the clock. In our books, that's a success story. The success is that these people have reached a place where they're utterly content with their lives. And therefore, what other people would see as failures, the Jewish spiritual tradition sees as success. In fact, we actually view this perfect cookie cutter mold of success that this is what success looks like. This is what a soulmate looks like. This is what a happy this is what a thriving business looks like. This is what all of these words that we like to use in our cultures. In Judaism, we compare that very much to the town of Sodom. Remember Sodom?
Yes.
People would come to Saint Sodom, and they were all against having guests. But when they did have guests, the Midrash tells, they would come to sleep at somebody's house, and if they were too long for the bed, they were too tall, they would cut off their legs. That way they'd fit. And if they were too short, they'd stretch them out so they'd fit into the bed. Because they couldn't, and obviously, I'm not sure they were actually cutting people's legs out in Sodom. But our rabbis were saying that in Sodom, the definition of a good guest, of success, had to be uniform. Everyone had to be successful in the same way. And we view Sodom as the epitome of all that is evil. If everybody has to be successful in the same way, if everybody has to be married in the same way, if everybody has to be content in the same way, if all spouses have to always be on the same page about everything all the time, that's not a success where I come from. That's called fake. If I'm able to say, I get everything from this person, but you know what, my spiritual depths, that's what I have to come to a Monday morning class for. Or I love to do everything, but traveling and camping outdoors, that's why I have my best girlfriend from high school that I still hang out with. Yeah, so what? That is a success. You've managed to take something that is imperfect, and you have the best time. You're not thinking of leaving each other. You find what you need in other places, in other ways. By us, that is the definition of a soulmate. It could be also that you must remember, in the world in which I will travel in very often in my life, the things that Dvorah and I can't come to a conclusion on, or the things that we have to discuss that are not, each of us has study partners that we have outside of our relationships that we study with all the time. We each have our own respective rabbis that we'll reach out to on things that we sometimes feel the other one might not be qualified enough to speak to, and that is built into our relationship. And it could be that perhaps doing a lot of things outside of, it's almost funny, but my parents don't live like this. But my in-laws, they almost don't do anything together in their spiritual life. I mean, they live in a world where men and women are segregated to the point of in my opinion, it's absurd. But you know what? My father-in-law, he has his buddies that he does Shabbat with, and they do their tish. They have dinner together with the family. But they'll disappear for 3 hours at night in the synagogue, singing and dancing. And for me, spending 3 hours in the synagogue and my wife isn't there, it's not worth it for me to be there. I don't feel that if I'm growing spiritually without her, for me, it's not worth it. But he has a very different model of a spiritual relationship with his wife, and I don't think that his model is any worse than mine. It's just different. It's a different way. They're a different couple. They're a different conclusion. My in-laws, they go grocery shopping. Every time they go to buy a cucumber in the store, they do it together. It's really sweet. Sometimes I'm going to go get the milk today in the store. You could stay home. If I had to schlep her out of the house every time I need to go get a cucumber. But I don't think together to the point of you're stuck to me like glue, and I don't have my own space, and I don't have my own freedom to grow, and I can't do my own things and make my own decisions about. That's not what I mean when I say soulmate. But it's two people who realize that we're in this for the long haul. And if you're telling me you're counting 20s and 30s and 40 years, that's the long haul. That's what we're talking about. Those are relationships with your soulmates. Are they going to be perfect? No, that's the whole point. They're not perfect, and you're still together, and you're still smiling, and you still celebrate your anniversary every year. That is a Jewish soulmate. And there is the last element. What's that? The last element is God. And I know that not everyone has the same understanding, but I must believe at the end of the day that if Hashem put me in this relationship, and I'm here, and I'm not here for a week, I'm not here for a year and then getting divorced, I'm here for 40 years, so that means that God thinks that I found my soulmate, or he would have sent someone else my way. Something would have happened. I would have ended up being divorced, one of us would have died, something would have happened. I am here right now, I've been together for so... That is God's way of saying, you found your soulmate. And if we don't see it that way, it's because we have the wrong definition of soulmate, which is absolutely okay. Or at least not the original Jewish understanding of what is a soulmate. You wanted to say something?
I'm saying, but do they have to have the same interests?
No. If they did, then you'd be
not.
marrying yourself. And in fact, most people who get married to each other marry people who have different things that they're into. Most likes don't get along with each other. My wife, the things that she's into, I can never. My wife is begging me for 3 years. She just wants to go to La Jolla, strap on one of those gliders on her back, and jump off a cliff. And just the thought of her jumping off a cliff, it's like, you have 2 kids. Well, you want to jump off a cliff? And she's already asked the rabbi about it. My parents said she can jump off a cliff, and she's already booked reservations to go jump off a cliff, and she hasn't done it yet. I'm sure she's gonna do it soon. I will have that little. She's like, can you come take pictures? I will not take pictures. I'm not gonna be there. So what? We don't have to. She's the kind of person who does things like that all the time. Vacation comes around. We're gonna have a 2-week winter break sometime. My definition of a 2-week winter break, I want to be able to sit right here with my cup of tea, with my book. I want to sit on that couch with my kids in the living room. I don't want to go on vacation to Hawaii. I don't want to leave somewhere. I don't want to have to go find a hotel to sleep in. My wife, if you put her on a couch there for more than an hour, she'll lose her mind. So what? So we're of course we have different interests. That's what attracts people about each other. The things that I can't do, those initiatives that I'm not willing to take because I don't have the guts to do them, she'll do them. She'll call up a company, hey, we're doing something for Rosh Hashanah. That's what she does. Everyone is, but that's what makes a partnership. It's when two people go into business together as partners. Nobody wants to go into business with a partner. Everybody wants to be their own boss. They want to make all the money. They want to make everything. Why do you go into business with a partner?
You want to share.
That's not. You don't want to share.
Because
One person has one quality, someone else has the other quality.
The reason you go into a partnership is because they're going to bring to this business what I can't bring, and I know my shortcomings. I know that I'm great at buying inventory. I'm great at building the websites. I'm terrible with other people, and so I need that partner that's going to be the face of the business. That's going to talk to other people. If I found another partner like me, my business would never get off the ground.
No.
I think in general that's how partnerships work. You're looking for somebody.
That's Apple's business. It's just like that.
Oh, just like that? Oh, tell me.
Perfect. Exactly.
He has the business, the business sense. He puts up the website.
She's the people.
And she
Oh, really? I
deals
didn't
with the
even mean this
people.
when I just.
It's
Yeah.
true. She deals with the people, and people who
And
call in
people
don't
come-
want to deal with her husband.
Very good. People who come back because of you.
Yes.
They don't care what's on the shelf.
Yeah,
They come back
that's
because
right.
the
That's
person who
right.
remembers
That's
them
right.
and who
That's
remembers
right.
what they
That's
ordered last time
Exactly.
and
That's
yes,
right.
and how many grandkids they have and other
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
And he puts up the website, and he orders things and buys things.
I can imagine that he's terrific with customer service.
Terrible.
You don't want to know.
But he's brilliant on the computer.
Very
And he's
good.
brilliant with handling
The
people
website,
on the,
the website.
Not only the website, he's brilliant with handling people on the computer who phone and complain and this, that, and that. He can write amazing letters to make these people feel good. Whereas for me, I can't do the letter, but I can pick up a phone and do it. And everybody in the shop always laughs because Anton will have an irate customer on the line, really. And by the time I'm finished with the customer on the line, he's eating out of my hand. And everybody gets, I don't know,
But-
I can't understand this.
So what Declan was it? Did they all have the likes have to be the same? No, I think
No.
that's the whole point. And
Absolutely.
so
You
what
want to
I'm
marry the
hearing
same
is
kind of person that
we
you
don't
are.
do the same things. We don't talk about the same things.
Yeah.
We don't.
Have the same-
But that's the whole point. I
You
mean,
have
that's,
to, when
this
if
is
you're
where
going to talk about soulmate in this book,
I will not.
you
by the
need
way.
a whole explanation of soulmates because
I
the word
agree.
soulmate
What
is
does it
loaded.
mean in
Is
the
loaded.
21st
Is
century?
loaded.
Tell me.
Well, I'm just saying, everyone has a different thing. Is
Different
loaded.
perception of it, yes.
It's absolutely
Absolutely.
loaded. So, some you listen to all sorts of different. You could interview people and say, "What's your concept of soulmate?"
Soulmate.
Right. It's kind of like God. That's a loaded word for people. What they mean
Sure.
when they use the word God. So, in this book, before I would just throw out all the soulmate stuff, I would investigate to see what different people
So
think
let me
about soulmate.
put this on the line.
Please.
The term soulmate, or in Yiddish known as my bashert,
Yes.
is not used anywhere in Sephardic literature. We don't really have this bashertness that goes on in a relationship. I doubt, maybe at a certain point, parents will say, listen, you guys are stuck together, God wanted you together, deal with it. But I don't believe that anywhere in this book we're going to hear, this is your soulmate. This is because those are not words that I ever heard my rabbi use. Not for the bad, I just don't know that in the rational, realistic Judaism that those terms pop up so much.
Isn't that mainly American? Word soulmate? I mean,
It could be, yeah, the word soulmate is definitely English, but the concept
the
of
concept, I mean, when
like
I was
happily ever
growing up,
after, sailing
no.
off into
Well,
the sunset.
I used
These
to
are
joke with women, and I used to say, be really careful, single women looking for their partner. Be really careful when you say you want to find your soulmate, because the minute you find your soulmate, up comes a list of all the issues you have to
You have to
work
work
out
out.
together. That's why you have your soulmate.
Are you-
From
are you
a
ready for that?
previous whatever, you're both coming in to clean up so you can evolve together.
And I also think it's more of a California thing than a New York thing. With the term soulmate and to be together eternally. And I think that's more of a
No, I
California.
I think New York's picked it up.
Zivug, אולי
I think
זיווג,
it's
משורש
started
נשמתו,
here.
Probably
אבל
did
yeah.
start here, New Age kind of
But
thing,
not
your
really, זה לא,
soulmate.
ביהדות המקורית נשמע על שני נשמות שמתחברות, אבל to this extent, I don't know. To this extent. And okay, so where did I start with you?
I'm with my
Steve is
soulmate.
here and I'm here.
I started with Dale. I started with Dale Carnegie.
Hold on 2 seconds. Richard is here and I'm there. You know that.
I know, so it's kind of an interesting thing.
It is, because
I don't look at,
And yet, what I could say in the course of, Bill and I are together 18 years, there have been times when maybe I've had anxiety, and I'll say to him, I'll wake him up like at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm anxious. And he will just put his hand on my chest and hold me and tell me to breathe and be there with me for an hour until I feel completely relaxed and
Chumash,
better.
please.
So,
It's over
it's a mixed bag.
Of course
So I
it
can't
is.
talk to him about all this
Right,
metaphysical
But I don't think you have to.
Kabbalah
No,
stuff
no,
I'm
you don't
reading,
have to.
and yet he's there for me to.
You're making me take a
What
tangent.
did I miss? Colette, do you have a soulmate or not?
We decided
What
that
did
the
we decide?
definition. You have to define soulmate.
No,
before you
No,
use it.
decided no. I don't know. You know what? And yet.
Does it matter?
Exactly. So I was saying to Yoni that if you're going to write about this in the book, the very topic, soulmate, the very two words, soulmate, is so loaded,
Is it low?
so
yes.
charged, that you need to go in and really interview people,
You know
talk
what?
to people.
Paulette is
ask them
pushing the
what they-
soulmate button. I wanted to say something because Declan asked a good question. And the question was, do we even have this concept or term soulmate in traditional Judaism? I want to tell you as close as
Well, everyone talks about your bashert.
Right, that's a Yiddish word, so it can be in traditional
Bashert is,
Judaism.
when I look at the thing of Bashert, it's, to me, when I say Bashert, it's meant to be.
Well, I think Bill and I were
It's
meant
bashert, it's
bashert.
bashert.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hold on, can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
Bashert, if you're a Yiddish speaker, bashert is not always used just about soulmate.
No.
For example, if
It's exactly the
when,
definition
when
of
my
marriage.
father-in-law, when
It's
my
meant to
father-in-law
be.
got in a car accident, and his car was totaled,
But he was
they
okay.
would say he was okay. They would say the car being totaled was bashert. No, it was that's supposed to
meant to
happen.
be.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's meant to be.
yeah, yeah, meant to
Meant
be.
to
The
be.
car
Meant to
being
be.
totaled was not a good thing,
Right.
but it was meant to be.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So I don't know that bashert and soulmate
No,
are the
it
same
doesn't, for
term.
me, it doesn't make sense. For me, it doesn't.
So let me take
No, it
us
makes
back
sense
somewhere.
for me.
The Talmud tells us the following teaching. 40 days before a person is born, a bat kol, a voice comes out from heaven and says, Ploni, Mr. So-and-so, the bat Plonit, will be married to Mrs. So-and-so, the daughter of so-and-so. This field will go to this person. This house will go to this person. Our rabbis are introducing a concept which is the things that happen in the world are foreseen. This concept in Judaism is a very difficult one. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, Hakol tzafui, everything is foreseen, v'hareshut netuna, but permission is given to you to do whatever you want. So you have free will to do whatever you want, but anything you will inevitably do has been foreseen. So if it has been foreseen, do I really have permission to do whatever I want? Or am I just doing what this creation has been programmed for me to do? This question, if I could tell you that more quills and more ink has been broken and spilled on these papers than anywhere else in Judaism, absolutely, which is why this is not where I'm going to go with you today. But you find for the first time in rabbinic literature that two people who are married to each other were meant to be. They were bashert. Meant to be.
That's right.
Okay, these two people that are together, it must be that 40 days before I was born, a voice came out from heaven, and yes, and there's a lot of depth here. Why 40 days? Why before I was born? Why before he was born and not before she was born? These questions that come up are deep questions. We could discuss them at some time. But the basic teaching is when two people find each other and they meet each other and they stay with each other, they are meant to be. It doesn't mean that it's going to be great. Kabbalah introduces that you will be finding the other half of your soul. You were born a 50% soul.
That's where
And
the
you will find
soulmate
where the
comes
spirit-
in.
You
That's
will
where
find
it comes in.
The other 50% of your soul, by the very definition of you being half a soul and she or he being half a soul, Kabbalah is telling you neither of you are going to be perfect because you're only half a person. This is why under the wedding canopy, under the chuppah, we make a blessing. Blessed are you, Hashem, Yotzer Ha'adam, who creates human. Because at this point, two half souls are becoming one, and they are now soul mates. It doesn't mean that they're gonna go, because you know what? If someone gets divorced, we still made that blessing by the chuppah, and then we're gonna make a blessing at their second wedding. We're gonna say, oh, you've now created human. Any two souls that have decided to cling to each other are essentially two soul mates. They're sharing a soul in the times that they are together. Kabbalah teaches even further that sometimes the person you're stuck with, that's your tikkun, that's your fixing in the world. Sometimes all the stuff you have to put up with, that looking in the mirror that I'm too fat, I'm too ugly, or he just can't get off the couch, or whatever it is, that part of that is there's a certain fixing in the world that I came to do, and fixing isn't always fun. Like you said, yeah, be careful if you ask for your soulmate, because there's a lot of stuff you're gonna have to do that you wouldn't have to do when you're on your own. That's part of a soulmate. Nowhere in these texts are you finding perfection to be the definition of soulmate. Last but not least, the Baal Shem Tov introduced a radical concept into traditional Judaism. And you could say this is only the Baal Shem Tov's understanding, but throughout my studies in spiritual literature, you'll find that the Baal Shem Tov may have formulated it, but didn't invent it like many things that he did. It was not the inventor, he was the formulator of ideas that were older than him. And the Baal Shem Tov says, if there's such a thing as soulmates, And there's such a thing that people are meant to be. So why on earth do people go through so many relationships before they settle down on one? And why do so many people who are in relationships, even for so long, sometimes find themselves outside of that relationship and then onto another relationship? Why? How could it be? If it was meant to be, and clearly those first 10 relationships weren't meant to be. Says the Baal Shem Tov, they were meant to be. Because there were certain souls, and don't ask me how to explain, I'm just repeating. Certain souls that were predestined, before you meet soul number 10, you're going to have to meet 9 other souls along the way to know that soul number 10
Ten
is
is
the
the
one for
right
you.
one.
Sometimes you meet a person that after they've been divorced twice, you then find the person who marries that same problem again, and you find the person who says, I've learned my lesson of who never to be involved with again. And then they marry somebody, and they're married till the end of their life together, and they're the happiest people together. So what was the point of those first 2? They wasted 20 years of their life? No, I guarantee you that if they would have met partner number 3 20 years beforehand, they would have never married them.
I agree.
Because they didn't reach that level of tikkun, of rubbing against, figuring out who I am, in order to figure out if you want to see this on a rational level, not on a Kabbalistic level, sometimes a person has so many boyfriends or whatever it is, they kind of learn one thing from all this experience, is I know exactly who I'm not looking for anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I wanted this person, nope, that's not, I thought I wanted, nope. And then, on a rational level, no Kabbalah here, I now know who I'm looking for. I know the kind of character traits that are important. I used to think that being pretty was important. I used to think that blonde hair was important. I used to think that a person's job was important. Until I married a guy who had blonde hair and then became bald and he lost his job and he went broke. And then I suddenly realized, the guy that's going to want to spend time with my kids is the one who's important. The one who's going to be there for me in the middle of the night when I'm not feeling well, who's going to bring me chicken soup, who's going to schlep out of his bed and go to the grocery store to pick up my prescription medication. And maybe that's more important than the things I didn't know that 3 relationships ago. I didn't know that 5 relationships ago. So is this my soulmate? According to our literature, yeah, this is as close to American soulmate as possible. It's going to be the soul which you have decided. It's a decision, and obviously divinely inspired to be in this relationship and then to make everything work
This
around
is the
it.
soul you've decided to mate with.
Yes, that's a good
Right.
definition of soulmate.
Yeah.
And it's not just you've decided, but almost the world, the universe has put the circumstances in your path that you ended up finding each other.
I mean, look
It
at
sounds
just
like
the 2 of
Rabbi
us
Aaron.
are the most unlikely people to have ever met in our lives. Our communities never met each other. Our families never met each other. So to say
But
that,
can I say even better?
yeah,
Our courses were never on path for collision. If I would
Correct.
become the most famous rabbi in the world, if I would, I still would never ever cross path with her family,
ever.
with her groups.
We
with
would
her
never know each
teaching,
other.
with her rebbes, with her never. Our paths were completely on 2 different railroads, and the fact that it crossed at some point, it could have been a fluke, an accident. It could have been, or that could have been what we would call soulmates.
It was
That
Bashir.
was Bashir.
And,
That
and
was
I
meant
don't know
to
what
be.
you were in Bill's course of, where that point that you met was, but I'm sure most of us
That
in our
was
lives,
totally Bashir.
right? We find where we're on such
even years before predicted that I would meet him. Yeah.
So there you go. When we're saying soulmate, it's not, and I think people have taken it a lot of at a context where it's a heebie-jeebie topic of like something metaphysical must be going on.
You gotta be careful when you use the word soulmate.
There you go.
Yes,
I think that's a
yes,
good lesson we
and
learned
that is a
today.
good
Yes,
lesson.
This is a good
that
thing.
is, that's
By the way, I have a family member who's married to a girl,
Yeah.
and that he was set up on a blind date. Not at a in a party. He was set up. There's gonna be a girl. She's
Yes.
wearing blue. We already arranged it. Just go have a drink together at the party. And he shows up at the party, and he started talking to the wrong girl in blue,
Oh,
and they ended up getting married.
oh,
And so I don't know what is that called.
that was Bashir.
But sure, that was meant to be. That was.
I don't know. We'll ask the other girl in the blue what she thinks it was called.
But sometimes that's just the way the paths crossed, and that's even.
it is Bashir. I mean, the way people
But that's
meet
definitely
is
a good
is
highlight. That
really.
it's a loaded word.
It's a loaded
It's a
word.
loaded
It's
word.
a
Such
loaded
a
word. If
crossing
you're gonna
that
write
you
a book
can't
and
say.
put it out to people,
Because
you
how I
have
met
to be
Richard,
really
I mean,
careful.
is a crossing that I would never have heard, ever.